A team of elite thieves pulls off the perfect heist in Venice, stealing millions in gold. But when betrayal turns their victory into a disaster, the real job begins. Now, with revenge on their minds and Mini Coopers as their weapons, they plan to take back what's theirs, no matter the cost. To know what happened next, watch the full video. The movie begins with a man named John Bridger, who has just been released from prison and arrives in Venice, Italy. He calls his daughter, Stella, telling her he wants to send her a gift. But she is aware and asks if he has a receipt, knowing his past as a thief. He hangs up the call and meets up with Charlie and 4 others, while Left Ear, Handsome Rob, and Steve. Their target is a safe with $35 million in gold bars beneath a waterfront house. The team plants a bomb under the safe, making it fall into the water, and successfully cracks it open underwater. During an intense speedboat chase with the police and security, they manage to escape. Meanwhile, Charlie and John retrieve the gold from the safe, while Handsome Rob creates a distraction. After their successful heist, the team gathers on a snow-covered mountain. John praises Charlie for planning the job perfectly. They talk about how they will spend their shares and share some laughs before leaving. However, their journey takes a sudden turn when they're betrayed by some of Steve's men while crossing a bridge. Steve pulls out a gun and orders Handsome Rob to let go of the steering wheel. Steve's men start unloading the gold from the bus. Steve then points his gun at John, who is trying to get out. John warns him that people will come after him, but Steve shoots him without hesitation. Left Ear quickly tries to drive away, but the bus falls off the bridge into the freezing river. Steve keeps shooting to make sure they are dead. Luckily, the team escapes to the riverbank, where Charlie mourns the loss of John. 1 year later, Stella Richards completes a lockpicking job for the police and gets praised for her skill. When she returns to her office, she meets Charlie, who tells her he has found Steve and wants to take back the stolen gold. However, Stella refuses, saying she is not a thief like her father. Later that night, she changes her mind and calls Charlie, accepting the job to retrieve the stolen gold and take revenge for her father's death. In the morning, Charlie introduces Stella to the team and reveals their new identities. The crew then begins planning a heist, starting with surveillance of Steve's house and figuring out how to control traffic using chemical grenades. They decide that the first step is to get inside Steve's house, with Stella acting as a spy since she is the only one he doesn't recognize. Meanwhile, Steve is trying to sell the gold bars to Yevon, a money launderer. During their meeting, Yevon buys 2 bars and promises to purchase more on Wednesday. The team keeps a close watch on Steve as they refine their plan. To infiltrate Steve's mansion, they disguise themselves as repair workers. Rob and Lyle get a work bus and uniforms from a repair company. Rob charms one of the female workers into spending the night with him. The next morning, he quietly steals her uniform and makes a copy of the bus key. The team quickly gives Stella a uniform and a key so she can pretend to be a cable repair worker. Meanwhile, Left Ear messes with the electricity in Steve's mansion, making his TV stop working. Because of this, Steve calls the cable company for help. But the team has already hacked his phone and answers the call themselves. Stella, wearing a hidden camera on her chest, drives to Steve's house in a work van. When she arrives, his aggressive dogs bark at her. Steve comes out to meet her and invites her inside. As they walk through the house, he proudly shows off his expensive things and his huge TV. While Stella looks around for the safe, the hidden camera records the house's layout. Steve also tries to flirt with her and asks her out. At first, she says no, but after he keeps pushing, she finally agrees. After meeting Steve, Stella feels uneasy and troubled about facing the man who killed her father. Sensing her distress, Charlie meets with her to offer support. After that, the team gets back to planning the heist. They test the Mini Cooper they plan to use for moving the gold, placing metal weights inside to match the expected load. Stella tries driving the car, but they soon realize it can't handle the weight. Rob then suggests bringing in Wrench, who agrees to fix the problem for a fee of $10,000. Meanwhile, Lyle hacks into the traffic system and is eager to show Charlie what he has done. He changes the traffic lights at will, creating chaos on the streets. Charlie watches and is impressed by Lyle's skills. Meanwhile, Left Ear focuses on perfecting his skills with explosives. After Wrench finishes upgrading the cars, the team takes them for a test drive and is excited about how well they perform. Later, Steve goes to meet Yevon to exchange more gold bars for cash. During their conversation, Yevon casually mentions a gold heist in Venice. which immediately catches Steve's attention. His mood quickly changes, and he angrily demands to know who Yevon has told about the gold. When Yevon insists he hasn't said anything, Steve loses his temper, shoves him onto the desk, and shoots him dead. A few minutes later, Yevon's cousin Mashkov, who leads a Ukrainian mafia gang, enters the room. He is stunned to find Yevon's lifeless body. Charlie takes left ear to buy explosives from Skinny Pete, an arms dealer. During their conversation, Pete mentions the stolen Venice gold bars, but Charlie brushes it off, saying that isn't why they are there. They then finalize the deal for the explosives. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian mafia is already searching for Yevon's killer. They capture one of Yevon's workers and pressure him for answers. The worker reveals that a large, tattooed man with long black hair has been asking about the gold. Wasting no time, the mafia boss orders his men to find Skinny Pete. When they arrive, Mashkov questions Skinny Pete about what he knows regarding the gold bars and whether he has anything to do with Yevon's death. Meanwhile, Charlie and his team are getting ready to move forward with their plan. Lyle keeps an eye on Steve and sees him leaving his car to meet Stella for their date. When Charlie reaches the location, he notices that Steve's neighbor is throwing a big party. Realizing they can't use explosives with so many people around, they have no choice but to call off the plan. With no other option, Stella goes ahead with her date at the restaurant. Steve compliments her on her job and tells her she is too beautiful. As they talk, he asks her to come back to his place, but she turns him down, saying they should take things slow. Steve then questions if she trusts him, and she replies, "I trust everyone. It's the devil inside them I don't trust." Stella's father has always used that phrase, and Steve immediately recognizes it. He mentions that someone has once said the same thing to him. Suddenly, Steve grabs Stella's hand, just as the team walks into the restaurant. When Steve smugly brings up her father's death, Stella loses her temper and tries to attack him, but they hold her back. Steve smirks and brags about his high-tech security system, claiming it would be nearly impossible for them to break into his safe. Without warning, Charlie leans over the table and punches him in the face. Back at the hideout, Charlie reassures Stella, understanding how seeing Steve has brought up painful emotions for her. Meanwhile, Lyle shares an important update. Steve is planning to transport the gold to Mexico. The team is disappointed at first, but Charlie sees it as an opportunity. He believes they can intercept the safe before it is moved out. Lyle then explains that Steve uses secure trucks and a helicopter to transport the gold. Just then, Charlie gets a call from Skinny Pete, who questions him about Yun's murder. Charlie denies any involvement, but takes the chance to ask Pete for a favor. Later, Charlie and Rob go to a truck dealership to buy a vehicle for their heist. While checking out the new truck, Charlie calls Wrench and asks for his help again. Wrench is eager to be part of the action, and Charlie agrees to let him join the team. Later, Charlie and Left Ear work together to plant explosives under a bridge where they plan to redirect the gold truck. Meanwhile, the rest of the team monitors Steve's transportation plans. They notice he has arranged for 3 safe trucks, likely to confuse anyone trying to steal the gold. But Charlie tells the team to focus on the truck that has a helicopter escort, believing it carries the real gold. To make sure they have the right truck, Charlie tells Lyle to check the tires on all 3 and find the one carrying the heaviest load. After inspecting them, Lyle identifies truck 128 as the one transporting the gold. At an intersection, the 3 trucks split up, each taking a different route. Lyle keeps track of them using traffic cameras and creates a traffic jam on the road meant for truck 128. Meanwhile, Steve is watching everything from his helicopter and quickly realizes what is happening. He orders his pilot to change course, but Lyle stays ahead of him, using the traffic lights to guide truck 128 exactly where the team wants it to go. The team chases after the truck, weaving through busy streets, racing down a staircase, and even speeding through a train station to make it under the bridge in time. To clear the way, Lyle stops the train with the press of a button, ensuring the team can get through. Once they reach the bridge, they wait for Wrench's signal. As soon as it comes, Left Ear detonates the explosives, collapsing the road and sending the truck crashing into the hole. Wrench presses a button to conceal the hole. Steve orders his men to find the truck. Meanwhile, the team faces an unexpected problem. Inside the truck, they discover a different safe than expected, surprising Stella. Charlie asks if she can still open it, and she admits it is a newer model and harder to crack. She starts drilling but struggles. Instead of forcing it, she uses her skills carefully and works through the challenge. After some effort, she finally unlocks it. The team then loads the gold into the Mini Cooper. The team successfully escapes, but Steve's men are right behind them, chasing them through the tunnel. As the pursuit escalates, the men open fire. Eventually, the team manages to shake them off and makes it onto the highway. However, Steve quickly spots them from his helicopter and continues the chase through an open field and back onto the road. Charlie takes a different route, but Steve stays on his trail. At one point, they cross paths, and Charlie barely avoids the helicopter's blades. Steve then jumps out, hijacks a car from a stranger, and keeps chasing Charlie. Charlie meets up with the team, and they quickly load the Mini Coopers onto a train car before leaving. Meanwhile, Steve continues tracking them. He spots the train and approaches Wrench, mistaking him for a worker. Steve offers him $5,000 to unlock the train car, paying half up front and promising the rest later. Wrench takes the money and opens the car. To Steve's shock, Charlie is waiting inside. Charlie acknowledges Steve's cleverness, but tells him the gold is no longer his. Before Steve can react, he pulls out his gun, but the Ukrainian mafia arrives just in time. Steve, confused by the men, asks who they are. The mafia leader introduces himself as Yan's cousin. Realizing he is in danger, Steve denies killing Yan, claiming he was already dead when he arrived. He tries to negotiate, but Charlie has already made a deal with the mafia. Seizing the moment, Stella punches Steve before the mafia takes him away. She feels satisfied, knowing she has avenged her father's death, and hugs Charlie in relief. Steve begs the mafia boss and even offers double what Charlie has, but it is pointless. Meanwhile, Charlie and the team celebrate their victory as they board the train to leave. In this way, movie ends here. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more interesting movie recaps.